Are we going to practice democracy or are we going to practice hypocrisy? Which one is going to be? So I'm challenging you, Stacey. Democracy is making sure everybody get a fair and free election where nobody is doubting their election or their vote.
Won't overcome it because they'll control everything. The machines that you vote on, they'll stuff the ballot boxes again. They'll vote more dead people. There has to be integrity in this, and the evidence is overwhelming. It's a lot of fraud in many states, and my suspicion is it's not just the 6 states in question. My suspicion is the 28 states where Dominion operated, they are in question. They're the ones where there's more. Like in Arizona, they gave everybody 35,000 votes before they started counting. That's insane. You can't do that just because there's a D beside your name. You can't do that. It's wrong.
And not uphold their faith. Here's a house of God, and it's burning behind Trump's back, and he has a Bible, and they're criticizing him and not those who burn the church. Yeah. If they burn that church, they'll burn the Baptist church, they'll burn a synagogue,
and
they'll burn a mass.
About that, sorry.
With passion and purpose.
You guys a little bit. I run a website, so the name of our website, it's electionevidence.com. And I know, like, we're probably live streaming or whatever, so, yes.
Votes matter. So I want to say to you, I challenge you in a good way. If you're my fellow American, you're my fellow Georgian, we're former legislators, we're former colleagues, join me on the 2nd floor at the state capitol in front of the Secretary of State's office, and let's make sure we fight for everybody in the state of Georgia. Not just the left and not just the right, but for everybody. What you're going to do is going to be about democracy or it's going to be about hypocrisy.
So it's electionevidence.com. What we're doing is we're compiling all of the evidence just like in a one-page website of everything that we can find across the internet. Kind of like a crowdsourced project. So if anybody out there is interested, if you guys want to see the evidence for yourself, we have pictures, videos, affidavits, all sorts.
What do you think's the purpose then?
To spread the great news.
Stuff. We would be very honored to have, you and your listeners come check it out. So,
is it just from Georgia or is it all over?
No, this is the entire United States election. This is Michigan. This is, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, everywhere that, things are going on. So
let me just ask you, what's the most profound, shocking piece of evidence that you've seen?
Right now, the great news, of course, is Donald won. And we've got to make sure that America knows it. And we've
confident Donald Trump's going to be our president for 4 more years.
Do you think he's going to flip all the states that are in question right now, or what do you think?
I think what it's going to come down to is these states are going to be pulled down, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and then nobody gets 270 for right now. And then December 14th, then all the states vote, and he'll win 26 to 22. That's the way. There's this to prove all that between now and next week. There's so much evidence that, but after they declare him the president, then all the stuff that went on, there's a lot of people that should go to prison.
On Linwood's statement about withholding the Senate votes this year, because we know over and over again when Linwood comes out in public and speaks about the Senate races, a lot of people perceive his speech as that Georgians should hold back their vote in this Senate runoff. He says that it's just not secure. I'm sure at one point he said boycott the election. So I don't know how people are taking that. I was personally seeing it as a black and white matter. Like, either you vote and just, regardless of if there's fraud, you vote and hold on to the seats, or you don't vote at all, which is what I thought Linwood was kind of alluding to. But when we talked to the My Pillow guy out there, it was super interesting because he was taking a whole different approach to that. He said that he thinks the message Linwood's trying to get across with that statement is that we shouldn't back down. That's what he was saying. He said we shouldn't back down we shouldn't hold back our votes when there's two Senate seats that need to be taken, but at the same time, the My Pillow guy said he thinks Linwood is trying to really push Americans, keep pushing them to keep forcing the government officials to really look into these litigations and lawsuits and really do something. So I think that was an interesting point. He says that he doesn't think Linwood's trying to encourage people not to vote, but at the same time, he's trying to make sure they are putting pressure on the government officials. So I found that a rather neutral and interesting approach there. So, not sure what President Trump will say about that, but we will hear in about half an hour.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, we won a lot of places. We won Florida. We won Ohio. Big. We won them big. Remember, we were going to lose Florida, they said. We were 5 down in Florida. We won by a lot. We were way down in Ohio, and we won big. We won them big. Remember, we were going to lose Florida, they said. We were 5 down in Florida. We won by a lot. We were way down in Ohio, and we won by a lot. I think they say that if you win Florida and if you win Ohio, in history, you've never lost an election. This has got to be our first time. But the truth is they were right. We've never lost an election. We're winning this election. And I will say we're fighting very hard for this state. When you look at all of the corruption and all of the problems having to do with this election, all I can do is campaign, and then I wait for the numbers. But when the numbers come out of ceilings and come out of leather bags, you start to say, what's going on? But I want to just tell you that I love this state. I love the people in this state, and I'm thrilled to be back in magnificent Georgia with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Let me begin by wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. Remember the word? Remember? We started 5 years ago, and I said, you're going to be saying Christmas again, and we say it proudly again, although they'll be trying to take that word again out of the vocabulary. We're not going to let them do that. I also want to express our profound condolences to the family of Harrison Deal, a young and brilliant campaign staffer for Senator Loeffler, who tragically died in a terrible car accident yesterday. You know about it. He was an incredible, magnificent young man, and I just want to say our prayers are with his friends and loved ones, and we will keep his memory in our hearts. And he's looking down right now, and he's very proud of Kelly and David. He's very proud of all of us, so I just want to express my best wishes, okay, to the family and everybody. Thank you, Kelly. And let me also express our warmest best wishes and love to all of those people and families suffering from the COVID pandemic. Vaccines are on their way at a level that nobody ever thought possible. It would have taken another administration 5 years. It took us 7 months, and they're starting next week, and we're going to start vaccinating, and a lot of people already are vaccinated. It's called you caught it, and you're immune. I hope it's true. You know, they say that before I had it, they said if you catch it, you're immune for life. Once I got it, they said if you catch it, you're immune for 4 months, right? You know? But they're on their way, the vaccines, and they're great vaccines and safe and brilliant, actually, to think of it, what we've done in such a short period of time. Nobody thought, they call it, even some of the enemies call it a medical miracle, what we've done. And we also have great therapeutics, and they're already here. And I can testify to that fact. I'll tell you what, some incredible work has been done over the last 7 months, and we should always get credit for that. Don't let anyone ever take it away from us. We're gathered here tonight to ensure, a very important word, ensure, because these are two great, great people that I know so well and respected by everybody in Washington and beyond, that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win the most important congressional runoff probably in American history. I really believe that. I think it's an American. There's never been a time like this where you have two at one time. At least you have two beauties. And you know what? You also have two beauties running against them, but beauty in a different way. They're two beauties. But there's never been a case where a state has had this prominence on Senate races, because they're never together. And this is something that's very important, and you have to get out, and you have to vote. You have to make sure you have every vote counted. Every vote has to count. You got to make sure they don't throw away any ballots. You got to make sure that when they collect the ballots and they start bragging about how many ballots they already have, you got to make sure your Secretary of State knows what the hell he's doing. And And you got to make sure your governor gets a lot tougher than he's been. He's got to get a lot tougher. Because at stake in this election is control of the U.S. Senate, and that really means control of this country. The voters of Georgia will determine which party runs every committee, writes every piece of legislation, controls every single taxpayer dollar. Very simply, you will decide whether your children will grow up in a socialist country or whether they will grow up in a free country. And I will tell you this, socialist is just the beginning for these people. These people want to go further than socialism. They want to go into a communistic form of government, and I have no doubt about it. Somehow that doesn't suit Georgia too well. That doesn't work too well, I think, Kelly in Georgia, does it, huh? David and Kelly are running against radical John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Ossoff and Warnock are the two most extreme far-left liberal Senate candidates in the history of our country. And you got them both at one time. How did that happen? I think you both got lucky, but we'll see, right? We'll see. You must go vote and vote early, starting December 14th. You have to do it. They cheated and they rigged our presidential election, but we will still win it. We will still win it. We'll still win it. And they're going to try and rig this election, too. No, we continue to fight. We've had some great moments. We just need somebody with courage to do what they have to do, because everyone knows it's wrong. We need somebody with courage, somebody that makes decisions. And we'll be going up to the Supreme Court very shortly, and we really, if we have courage and wisdom, I think you know what the answer is going to be, because you can't let people get away with what they got away with. Think of it, with over 74 million votes, think of that, I got more votes than any sitting president in history, 11 million more votes than we got in 2016. And we thought that if we could get 68 million, 67 million, that would be the end. All of our great, brilliant geniuses said you'd win if you get 67 or 68, it's over. We got 74 million plus, and they're trying to convince us that we lost. We didn't lose. They found a lot of ballots, to be nice about it, and they got rid of some too. The 74, let me tell you, the 74 could have been even higher. As the great pollster, John McLaughlin, who's really a great pollster, one of the most highly respected, he said there's no way this could have happened other than the obvious cheating or a rigged election. There's no way it could have happened. You know, it's interesting. I wrote this out, and I had just a few of the facts, which I think, because I want to get onto the presidential. I want to stay on presidential, but I got to get to these two because they're great. But listen to this. These are the facts, and each fact is like irrefutable, and it means win. President Trump received, done by one of the most brilliant political people, President Trump received more votes than any previous incumbent president in history, and we lost. And we lost. So we received more votes than anybody in history, any incumbent in history, and we lost, supposedly. We didn't lose. You're gonna see that. No incumbent who received 75% of the total primary vote lost re-election in the history of our country. President Trump received 94%, not 75, 94, which is one of the highest in history. In fact, President Trump is the only one of 5 incumbents since 1912 to receive more than 90% of the primary vote. And again, anybody received over 75%, they won. We got 94%. President Trump set a record for the most primary votes ever received by an incumbent, ever. And nobody that's received all of the primary votes, nobody's received at a much lesser level than what they always won. But we didn't, according to what they say. It's rigged. It's a fixed deal. Nationally, initial numbers show that 26% of President Trump's voting share came from non-white voters, the highest percentage for a GOP presidential candidate since 1960. That's a long time ago. President Trump won, think of this one, President Trump won 18 of 19 bellwether counties. You know what a bellwether county is? It's a big deal. So I won 18 of 19, a record, never happened, that between 1980 and 2016 voted for the eventual president in every single election, and before that it was almost every election, and we won a record, 18 of 19, never lost. Nobody's ever lost with anything like that. Biden did not demonstrate coattails for the down ballot races. Had no coattails. I'm shocked to hear that. In fact, he got 80 million votes, but when he made a Thanksgiving Day speech on the internet, they say he had less than 1,000 people. How do you have 80 million votes and you have 1,000 people? No, how do you have 80 million votes and you have less than 1,000 people? With Republicans maintaining control. So here's what happened. So Biden didn't demonstrate coattails, down ballot races, but with Republicans maintaining control, first time this has ever happened, control of the Senate, winning all 27 toss-up races in the House. Kevin McCarthy, great job. Mitch, great job. Winning all 27 toss-up races in the House. Think of it. We didn't lose a seat in the House. Think of this. First time that anybody, I think in history, we didn't lose one seat. Normally you lose 2, 3, 5, and you replace. We lost nobody sitting in Congress. I worked hard in the House with Kevin McCarthy. Not losing a single legislative chamber and making big gains at the state level and holding on to the Senate. I mean, look at what's happened. We better hold on to the Senate, you two. And there's never been numbers like that where a president even came close to losing. But they say we lost. The only way is they stuffed the ballot boxes. President Trump won. President Trump won, as we said, both in Florida and in Ohio. And by the way, won by a lot. Remember, remember the fake polls where they said he's down by 4 in Florida and won by a lot. He's down by 2 in Ohio, and we won. I think we got 8 or 9 or something up. No, but nobody's ever done that. Those two very powerful, big, important states. And the beauty is that we also won Georgia, and that was good. And we won South Carolina, and we won Iowa. Remember? We're not going to win in Iowa, they said. We're not going to win. I think the farmers like Trump a lot, right? Well, we won in Iowa by a lot. We won in Iowa by close to record numbers. I think I have the record. And we won all over the place. And many of these swing states, you know, it's a very interesting statistic. President Obama beat Biden all over the country, except in some of the swing states where Biden beat him badly. How does that work? And they say it's statistically impossible. He beat crooked Hillary. Think of this. He beat crooked Hillary in the swing states, but she beat him everywhere else. Let me tell you, this election was rigged, and we can't let it happen to two of the greatest, most respected people in Washington. We can't let it happen again. Can't let it happen. Can't let it happen. Your governor could stop it very easily if he knew what the hell he was doing. He could stop it very easily. Hundreds of thousands of illegal votes were cast in each state. Far from, I mean, you look at this, hundreds of thousands more than we needed were cast in every state we're talking about, not only here, but Michigan, Pennsylvania. How about Pennsylvania, where they throw the poll watchers out? They threw them out. They literally threw them out. And they did it here too, by the way. But we caught them cold and have numerous cases pending, and so far we haven't been able to find the people with the courage to do the right thing, and that is true in Georgia certainly, but we're going to hit those people, and they're going to go down in history as great people. They're going to go down because everyone knows what took place. But we're going to talk about the presidential election a little bit later, because We have a big senatorial race going on in Georgia, and we are watching Democrats very, very closely. And remember this, we had this massive race all over the country, so they could cheat in Georgia, and people aren't really watching it like they should. And, you know, again, all I can do is say, I'm running, win, and then do a good job as president. That's all. I don't run the elections. I don't run to see if people are walking in with suitcases and putting them under a table with a black robe around it. I don't do that. That's up to your government here. And for whatever reason, your Secretary of State and your governor are afraid of Stacey Abrams. They're afraid of her. So we know the Democrats are planning to cheat, and